Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Chicago Real. Today we have a real treat. I'm totally honored to have this legend. I was able to get him. I was trying to connect with this gentleman here for weeks now. So I want to welcome you. A lot of people know him as Gino Rockin Romo, but today we're sitting in his dental office as Dr. Romo. Dr. Romo, welcome to the show, my brother.
Hey, thank you so much. Thanks for coming here. Thanks for bringing your crew here, and we'll do your root canal right after this.
Oh shoot! No,
So,
root
I
canals.
thought that's what this was about.
No root canals.
All right,
But
sounds good.
I grew up listening to you, and you're really a legend in the Chicago house music. You're well known not only in Chicago but worldwide, man, and it's a pleasure. A lot of people know you as a house music DJ, and you were right up there with the Bad Boy Bills, Julian Jumpin' Perez, Farley Jam Master Funk, and the Hot Mix Five, and all those cats that made house music what it is today. And you were a part of that. And but here we are in one of your offices. You have two dental offices, and
too. Yeah.
you became a doctor in the dentistry field, and that's very impressive, man. So for our audience, and we just keep it real here, and I just share your story, how it started. I know you a little bit. You grew up in a gang-infested neighborhood of Chicago back in the 80s.
Yep.
Born in the 70s, and you grew up in the 80s and the birth of house music.
Yep.
And I grew up in the same era, so I'm so happy, man, and I'm honored, really, man, to have you and interview you and share your story.
Well, thanks so much. Thanks so much for coming here. And I don't like the word legend because I'm not even close to the guys you named, Farley and Bad Boy Bill and Julian Perez. Those guys were the pioneers of house music. I have nothing to do with getting house music to the way it is now. I'm just riding this wave with them. But it's an honor for me to be mentioned along with those guys right there. But those guys truly, definitely deserve their pedestal because they are amazing DJs, and they've done so much for the house music community, and it's just an honor for me to be able to hang out with those guys every once in a while.
Yeah, and you also share the stage with those guys, so
Yeah,
man, it's
yeah.
totally an honor. So.
Yeah, it's an honor, but I'll tell you, it's nerve-wracking when you're playing next to Julian Jumpin' Perez or Bad Boy Bill. It is, you're DJing next to your idols, and you're DJing next to perfectionists.
Yeah.
And it is very nerve-wracking.
That's cool, man. I could just imagine that. So, take us back a little bit. I know that right now you have success, with your beautiful office here, and your staff was magnificent, very pleasant, and I felt very welcome when I came in here. So,
Great.
congratulations
Thank you.
for your group. Crew you have here,
Yeah.
but take us back, like how did all this started? The dentistry, the house music, and all that. And I know you grew up in the middle of gangland.
Yeah,
And
sure did.
and it was just a few blocks, either east or west. You
And it made a big difference.
Yeah.
It made a big difference wherever you were at.
Yeah.
So I ever since I can remember, since I think I was 3 years old, I always felt like I wanted to be in the healthcare business. I wanted to be some kind of a physician, something. And I thought, okay, if I don't make it as a physician, maybe I'll become a paramedic. But that was my thing. I wanted to be involved with that. As I got older, and when I was a freshman in high school, I was always a member of the Boys and Girls Clubs in Little Village. And I was involved with a youth leadership group called the Keystone Club. And we went on a conference down in Fort Worth, Texas. And they had a bunch of workshops for different careers. And they had one for medical. So I went to that one, and the speaker there happened to be a dentist. And he spoke about how he loved his career. He liked working with his hands, and how he got a lot of gratification from helping people, save their teeth and helping them smile. And he made a lot of comparisons on how that was very, very similar to medicine. And I thought to myself, wow, that's very interesting. I think that's something I would like to do. You're a tooth doctor. You're a doctor, but you're specialized in head and neck pretty much, specifically the teeth. And so that's where I started thinking, okay, maybe dentistry is the route I want to take. And one thing led to another. I was in high school, then I went to UIC. I was there in undergrad. And when I had to select my major and what my career choice was going to be, that's what I told my counselor. I really want to become a physician or a dentist, one of those. And my counselor said, I have a very good friend of mine who is a counselor at the dental school at UIC. And he introduced me to him. Mr. Martinez, every time, his name is Oscar Martinez, every time anybody asks me what inspired me, I always have to bring up his name because I owe a lot to him. He was the one that took me through the dental school, gave me a tour, and it wasn't one of those tours where here's room A, here's room B. No, it was more of a tour of like, this could be you. This is going to be you. You can do this. And I walked out of there. I was probably 17, 18 years old when I walked out of there, and I thought to myself, I'm going to be a dentist. This guy really thinks I can do it. And
Wow.
he says, all you got to do is just study really hard. I'm going to tell you what courses it takes so that you can get in. And by the time I turned, when I was 20 years old, I was accepted into dental school, and I was the youngest in the class. Average age was, I think, about 26 or 27. I came in dental school at 20 years old.
Wow, that's impressive.
Yeah, I worked my butt off. I studied as hard as I could to get in, and so getting in was a little tough, and then getting out was even tougher because you got to put in the time
Yeah.
and do the readings and studying, and so
Let me ask you this, because it's interesting what you said. I've been inspired and I have my heroes, but what really did he said that you made you believe you can do it?
So I had already in my mind was already set that that's what I was going to do. I was going to go somewhere in the healthcare business.
Okay.
I just didn't know where. And then being in college at the time, I thought, okay, I need to fine tune this dream of mine. I got to fine tune and see what is going to work for me. And when I met him and I went to the dental school, I thought to myself, this is it. This is what's really going to help me. And when I walked out of there and I started telling people, you know what, I think I'm gonna do dentistry. I'm convinced I'm gonna do it. 99% of the people I spoke to told me how difficult it was going to be, how I was going to change my mind, and that I should think of something else because it was too expensive to go to school there. It was too difficult. The odds were against me. I didn't have a bachelor's at the time. I was too young. And I was very disappointed because 99% of the people, that's what they would tell me. Other than my parents and my siblings and Mr. Martinez, everybody else was telling me, you're not going to be able to do it. It's going to be very difficult. And then obviously it made me more determined, to work my butt
And
off.
when you heard the naysayers you couldn't do it, how did it make you feel? Like, did it you feel like, oh, maybe it's not for me, or you just hung on to the people that supported you to keep you going?
A little bit of me was I was thinking they must be seeing something that I don't see, because I know I can do this. What is it that they're seeing? Maybe there's going to be an obstacle, something that I'm going to come across that I'm going to say, that's what they were talking about. But I thought to myself, no, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to be able to pull it off. And it was not easy, I'll tell you that much. It was extremely difficult. And I learned very quickly the reason why they were saying that, because it was extremely difficult. The workload, the study load in dental school was just unbelievable. Nothing I've ever gone through. And coming in at 20 years old was a real eye-opener. It was like,
Would you say that going to dentistry or dental school was the hardest thing you've done? One of your biggest
Absolutely.
accomplishments?
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. It's one of those things where people say, "I'm glad I did it. I don't know if I want to do it again."
Sure.
Because it's just so difficult when you're there. But it's definitely worth it. And the old cliche is like, if it was easy, everybody'd be doing it.
Sure.
And it's
Yeah.
not. It's not easy. That's why not everybody does it. But the rewards afterwards is just amazing, and that makes it completely worth it.
Yeah. And now, you were a DJ and you still are. And I know you just did a big festival here in Chicago, and you have a couple big events. That's really much what you focus on, big events now, because of your practice and business. How did you get into that? How did you become Gino Rockin Romo? And what was the transition from Gino Rockin Romo to Dr. Romo, and running a dental office?
So when I was
Because it's
14,
two spectrums,
Yeah,
I
well,
was shocked,
it's-
because I heard about you coming
Yeah.
up, and I used to listen to your music and into your sets, and I had no clue you were a doctor, and because a lot of the guys just stay in the music industry or become producers or whatnot.
Sure.
But it was like
This is
two
night and
different
day.
worlds.
Two different worlds, exactly. when I was about 14 years old, I used to, well, since like the 5th, 6th grade, I used to go to the Boys and Girls Clubs in Little Village. Yeah. And when I was about 14,
I used to be a member there too. Not in Little Village, in Cicero.
Oh, in Cicero, yeah. So I was a member in Little Village, and about 14 years old, they had DJ classes there, and of course, like 20 of us signed up. We all wanted to be a DJ, and the instructor that was there was a DJ at the time, so he was showing us, how to DJ, and we had only one set of turntables for about 20 kids. And it was a very slow process. He was showing us the beats and, how you put the needle on the record. Very basic stuff. The next day, like half of the kids didn't come back anymore. The next day, like another half didn't go. And at the very end, there was maybe three of us that stuck it out. Maybe 4 of us that stuck it out. And our teacher at the time, he was doing a lot of weddings. He was doing quinceañeras and things like that. So he would bring us along, and we would literally pick a number out of a hat and just say, okay, you're going to DJ tonight. And I would do a DJ set that I had memorized. It was all on record, and that's how we would do. We were barely learning, and that kind of got my feet wet, so to speak. And we started doing that every once in a while. And I was able to convince my parents to buy me a set of turntables of 1200s and a very nice mixer. Yeah. I couldn't believe they spent over $1,000, on this equipment, and I was able to practice at home. Mm-hmm. And then my very expensive hobby took off because records they're expensive. You have to buy at least 2 every time.
I do remember the day because I used to DJ too, but I used to go. There was a flea market in Cicero. Mm-hmm. There was a lady used to sell the records.
They were
$2. It was $2, and I used to buy 2 records of each. Or sometimes a new record would come out. There was a guy out there in his in back of the trunk of the car, and say, "Hey, the new record, Hypnotic Tango, or this just came out." And so I do recall those days.
Yeah. So you had your spots of where you can go. So I started building my record collection, and I was still learning. And on the second floor of the Boys Club, they had a radio station, 90.5 FM, WCYC. Which
WCYC.
Everybody in Little Village, used to listen to that radio station because it was the only radio station that played music that was not top 40, and it was more club music, it was more dance music. It was the music that wasn't played on B96 or WGCI or BMX at the time. Yeah. And so everybody used to listen to that radio station. And so 2 DJs had quit. They had quit,
But was that radio station? Was that run by the school?
No, that was run by the Boys Club.
Oh, it was.
It was run by the Boys Club. Correct. Okay. Yeah, it was run by the Boys Club.
Okay.
So 2 DJs had quit, and Magic Juan, may he rest in peace. He was a disc jockey up there, and he was very good friends with my instructor. His name was Val Rodriguez, and he asked Val, "Hey, I know you're teaching some kids how to DJ. We're looking for a guy, maybe 2 guys. Can you have them record mixes?" And so I knew how to do one mix, and I recorded it. I gave it to Val. Val gave it to Magic Juan, and I never knew what else had happened. I was 15 at the time, and I went to Mexico with my parents. Every summer we would go on vacation, and we went to Mexico, and we came back, and I was playing baseball at the time, so I'm riding my bicycle on 31st Street after a baseball game. It was a Friday night, and I heard Petrowski Park. Wow. Yes, I used to play there. And as I'm riding my bicycle home, there's a car blasting his radio, and I hear a mix, and I hear a blend, and I thought, wow, that's kind of like the one mix that I know how to do. And then he takes off, and then another car comes, and then I hear that they were listening to WCYC. And all of a sudden, I heard Magic Juan's voice say, "You're listening to the newest member of the Jackmaster 5. That was the name of the DJ group at the time. Gino Rockin Romero is what he called me. So that was, and I thought to myself, okay, that mix sounds a lot like mine, but that's not my name. My name is not Romero. So I rushed home. I called Val Rodriguez, my teacher, and I said, "Hey, I just heard this guy, and he's got a mix just like mine. Is that really me?" And he says, "Let me confirm." So he called me back. He says, "Yes, that was you." And I thought to myself, okay, oh my God, that's crazy. I'm actually on the radio station that all my friends listen to.
It's amazing at 15 years old.
Amazing. It was just amazing because we used to think everybody on the radio station was a little celebrity. Yeah. And I said, "What do I do now?" He says,
how did that make you feel in that moment?
I was a little kid. I was 15 years old. I was scared. I was scared as heck, but I was extremely happy.
Yeah.
And I asked Val, I said, what happens next? He says, do another mix, record another one for next week. And then the next week, and then the next week, and just keep doing it. So I was learning as I was on the radio station. It would take me a whole week to do a 30-minute mix because I didn't know how to DJ that well. Mm-hmm. I was still having a very difficult time staying on beat. Still do sometimes. Mm-hmm. And I was having a very difficult time, but I fought through it, and that's what I would do. I would get home from school. I would practice. I had a job, so I'd have to go to work, come back home, do my homework, and I did that 6 days a week. And every Friday, I would turn in a new mix, very sloppy at times. And I just kept doing that and doing it and doing that. And then eventually people started recognizing my name. Yeah. And,
you know, like the success, you know, I interview all kinds of entrepreneurs, and our producer would attest to this. And it's the same thing. Number one is they fix their mindset. Yeah. You know, they get the information and take action. Mm-hmm. You know, and you did all those things, and you are always in close proximity of who you want to be like. Whether it be in the DJ music industry, you started practicing. You were around other DJs who taught you. You hung out with them, and you took action. Mm-hmm. And you were always same thing with the dental business. It's all the same, you know. It's just success.
There's a pattern there.
There's always the same pattern.
Absolutely.
And I always tell people, number one is you got to fix your mindset. Number two is get information. Number three is take action. And number four is be always in close proximity of the people you want to be like.
Absolutely.
And that's exactly, like, that's why you're DJ Rockin Romo, and then you're also Dr. Romo, because you follow the same principles. Whether you knew it or not, it's like success always leaves clues, man.
It does.
It's just an amazing thing.
It does. But, you know, one thing I just to clarify is that none of this is easy, because you could really I'm still struggling. I'm always struggling to become a better DJ, and then running 2 practices. It's not just practice. It's not just practices, but it's a business. Mm-hmm. You know, and that takes a lot of time. I have a team of 30-something people that work with me, I should say, in my practices, and it's not an easy thing. It's not something that just happens. You have to. There's a lot of maintenance involved with it, just like anything. Yeah. And so it's not. I can't really say I've made it. I'm good. I can't say that, because it's a continuous. In order to be successful, you gotta. The maintenance, I think, is getting there is difficult, but then staying there, I think, is also.
And just to maintain where you're at, right? Exactly. And so you're at 15, and you got into the local radio, mm-hmm. Okay, and so those who are not from Chicago, he grew up in a little village. I know you mentioned that a couple of times. You know, that was a pretty rough area, Hispanic, predominant Mexican, Hispanic neighborhood. And what kept you, before we go forward, what kept you, like, getting into the gangs and all that stuff? And that was to the party crew era too, right? Yeah. And that kind of turned out to be gangs too, because they would, like, fight.
Yeah, so it was a very gray line. It was a very gray line. We're party crews. No, you're not. You're not a party crew. Some of you are not. Yeah. Some of you are borderline already, you know, a gang. Well, it's real simple. It's my parents. My parents were all about, you know, education. We were in public education. We didn't have enough money to go into private schools. I'm a 1 out of 4 kids. I'm the second oldest. I have a sister who's an assistant principal. I'm the dentist, and I have my next brother. He is an electrician. He's out in California. He's like a solar power guru. Mm-hmm. Then my youngest brother is vice president of a bank. He does loans. It's amazing success all across the board with my siblings. And I mean, they're doing a lot better than I am, believe it or not. They're doing amazing. Right. They're doing amazing things, and they're doing so good. But it really comes down to our parents. Our parents really they really instilled a lot of, you know, the education. My dad was a very hard worker. He worked quite a bit. And he was always there for us. And my mom, she also had a job, but you know, wasn't making a whole lot of money there, but she definitely sacrificed a lot just to make sure that we, you know, she always instilled that education was key. We had to do that. So, and one of the ways I did not get involved with gangs, for lack of a better term, I was a nerd. I was a nerd in school. You know, I was into sports, and I was into school. Yeah. And you can't be good at school or be good at sports and be a gangbanger. That just don't. That's not cool.
That doesn't go. Yeah.
That doesn't go. So that was my excuse. I was more an athlete, and I was into school. So my whole thing was school. I needed to make sure that I was doing really well, and for me, having to get straight A's was like my goal. I had to do that, and at the time, in high school, I was working, going to school, and then also DJing. And so DJing, the way I did it was I studied it. I studied DJing. I studied it. I studied it myself, and I tried to figure out, learn music, and learn how to use it so where I can use it to my advantage. And so everything that I did, I approached it in that fashion where I studied it.
Wow. And again, just the principles of success, like you gotta just put the work in.
You got to put the work in.
Yeah, for
Absolutely.
sure.
Yeah.
And so how did Gino Rockin Romo become what it is today, right? So you were 15, you got into the music, the radio station, which is a local tiny radio station.
Yep.
From there, how did it become what it is today?
So, when I was on the radio station, it was for a small radio station that it was. I think we may have had maybe a 5 mile radius. Sometimes they would say it would be a 10 mile radius. I don't think so. I think it was more like a 5 mile radius. Everybody that I knew pretty much lived in a neighborhood, so that was a real big deal. But you had limitations there. Now with social media, there's no limits anymore. Now with
Right.
social media, now you could do a silly video on TikTok and you could become an instant. You can go
Yeah.
viral, and now you're known worldwide.
Yeah, right.
Back then, it was strictly just that, but that goes to show the power that small radio station had and the people that were running it, and how the success that we had there. And none of us were getting paid. That was all completely volunteer, and it was great. But, throughout high school, I DJ'd there, and I was still struggling, at school, and struggling trying to learn how to DJ, and there were a lot of events here and there.
When you say struggling, it's interesting. Do you like struggle? It was just difficult, or you were just struggling of obtaining, getting, going forward with it, or learning with it.
When I say struggle, it's more because
You were in the trenches.
I was in the
I think
trenches,
that's what you meant.
exactly.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
were just
it was in the
working.
trenches.
It was hard. You
Yeah.
were in a battle.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's a battle. It's a
Sure.
battle. It's not like I was born to be a DJ. I wasn't
Right.
born to be I wasn't born to be a dentist. It was, I had to work at it. Ask any DJ, they'll tell you that. Yeah, I have to work at it. It's not doesn't just come that easy. You may think it comes easy, but it doesn't really come that easy for a
Right.
lot of us. And so you got to really, really work at it. So when I say that it was difficult, it's because I was a teenager, working, school, and trying to be a DJ. All
Wow.
at the same time. And then you're living my life as a teenager at the
Right.
time.
Right.
But my main focus was always school. That was my main focus. I used to have a lot of people ask me, oh my God, you're starting to play at a lot of these events at 17, 18 years old. And I would look at it and I'd say, you know what? That doesn't really excite me because I've got a final, I got finals week coming up, and that's like my main concern was school, to do that. And I wanted to get into a good college. And when I did get into UIC, that was an eye opener because college is not like high school. We all know
Right.
that. Once you get
Right.
into college, it's a big eye opener. The workload and the amount of the studying that you have to do, it's much different. So that was an eye opener. Then once I got into dental school, I realized I got to stop DJing. I got to stop DJing because I need to put in the time to my dental career because I went from college where I was taking 4 classes per semester. Dental school, I was taking 10 classes per semester.
Holy cow.
So the workload just doubled, more
Yeah.
than doubled. And that's a huge load. So people that go to college, they understand that once I tell them, you get 4
Yeah.
classes in college, that's a pretty heavy load. You get 5, you're crazy. When you go to dental school, it was 10 classes right off the bat. No messing around. It's 10 classes. I didn't have time to work. I didn't have time to DJ a whole lot. I would DJ pretty much when I had spring break or Christmas break is when I would do it. So I put it off and I just stopped doing it. I didn't have the time to do it a whole lot. What I did do was, I was to DJ on the radio station, but I wasn't doing a whole lot of events. I started recording mixtapes because on my free time, the mixtapes, I could just record a little bit at a time and then come back and then add to it. So I did that, and those were very successful. I did a few mixtapes and mix CDs, and those sold really, really well. And then when I became a dentist, I stopped. I stopped completely. I stopped DJing. I would have promoters reach out to me and say, hey, we want you to come out of your retirement, just one event, just do it. And I would say, well, I'll do it, but you need to have some turntables for me because I don't do all that digital stuff. I still do vinyl. That's all I do. So you're going to have to find me a good pair of turntables that actually work so that I can come out. And I did a few events like that. And, the itch was always there. I've always wanted to continue DJing. And then I stopped. I stopped because, I have 2 dental practices. My wife and I have 4 kids.
Sure.
And then the pandemic hit. Once the pandemic hit, I saw people live streaming. And I thought to myself, what do I need to live stream? I had invested money in this controller. And I had no digital music. So I started burning some of my vinyl on a CD. Then I put the CD in my computer. Then I converted it to an MP3. Then I put it on a USB. And then I thought, okay.
Holy cow.
Yeah, I had to do all that because I had all my music was on vinyl.
Yeah.
And then a lot of my friends were giving me stuff. Like, hey, here's another CD. Here's some more music for you. And I thought, okay, now I got a nice little library where I can play for about an hour, hour and a half. And I found out, what do I need to do to live stream? Let me just try it. So I bought this little connection, hooked it up, and I had 1,300 people tuning in, watching me mix during the pandemic because you couldn't go anywhere.
Yeah.
And I just started doing that, and it was just a fun time. It was a blast.
So it got you back into it a little bit?
It got me back into it. But what really did it was that I did it for fun, and I started getting text messages through Messenger, people direct messaging me. They were in the hospital. A lot of people were in the hospital because of COVID.
Sure.
And they say, I can't have my friends come over. My family can't come over. I love watching you because you look like you're having a good time and you're playing some really good music. And you're helping me get through this. And I got
amazing, man.
And I got one message and I thought, this is pretty cool. It really touched my heart. And then I got more. Then I got another one and another one and another one. Now, then I started getting messages, sadly enough, of people dying. People like, hey, I just want to let you know, my relative, my best friend, all they would talk about was watching you mix live because of the energy that you're portraying, and they just passed away from COVID. And I just want to share that with you, that at least you helped them, during a very difficult time. And I thought to myself, this is amazing. This is amazing because here I am. I thought it was very therapeutic for myself to be able to, as an outlet, to be able to release some of my stress with COVID, because I was running 2 dental practices and we had to shut the practices down 80% of the time, and we still had to come in and see dental emergencies, but business was horrible because we had to shut down, just like the restaurant business, just like
everything,
business
pretty much,
everywhere, pretty much. Well, that's how I put food on the table, and that made it difficult, and I needed an outlet. So for me, it was therapeutic to live stream, and I would tell my wife, I'm getting these messages and these letters and emails from people thanking me. I really feel like I should be thanking them because it was more therapeutic for me,
right?
To do that. So this took on it's like a monster. It just took off. And once things started opening up a little bit, I thought, what if we did an event? I have a lot of people that are dying to get together. Let's do an event. And I did I rented a yacht out in Lake Michigan, and we did a boat party. It was out in the open, so at the time you didn't have to wear a mask as long as you were outside. And we sold it out. We had 400 people show up, and we had a blast. People were dying to mingle with other people. And I thought to myself, wow, this event really went really well. What if we did a couple more events? And I've been very lucky. I've been very blessed. I've been able to do quite a few events now, maybe 5 events I think I've done. And sold out shows. So it's been now I'm a promoter. I don't know. And I say it with quotes because God bless the promoters out there, because it takes so much work and there is so much risk when you're promoting an event, and people don't realize it. And for it to go right, a lot of things have to be lined up, and you have to, you don't sleep for nights. And so God bless the promoters that do it out and they do it right, because it takes a ton of work to do it. And me, not being a promoter, I'm learning as I go. I've got a great mentor, Mikey O. Mikey O is a great mentor. Thank you, Mikey O. He's been a savior because he keeps me he keeps me from going crazy
Yeah.
and gives me all the right advice and all the tips.
Yeah, it's a big risk. You know, you always got to take some risk. You know,
Amazing risk, and people think, well, it's going to be a party, we'll just show up. You don't understand what
Yeah.
goes into it. You know, you
Yeah.
don't understand, especially if you want it at another level.
Yeah.
You know, it does.
Yeah,
take up
and
time.
I've talked to several guys that is the guy, one of the investors for the House Fest, you DJ, and he does the Michelada Fest too.
Right? Oh, I know
And
who you're talking about. Yes.
Yeah, and anyway, and you know, it's a risk, and he tells me about it. You
It's
know,
a huge risk.
Yeah, so
It's a huge risk because
you got to pay the artist, you got to pay all this stuff that goes into
Yeah.
it. So
Oh, it's a
I
huge,
totally
huge
get
risk.
it. Now, switching gears real quick. You also mentioned you're involved in like community service and that kind of thing. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so
it's pretty cool.
Yeah, we've done quite a bit with, now we need to start getting back into it. I obviously the real simple stuff that we do is I do a lot of sponsorships. I sponsor a lot of baseball teams, soccer teams, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts. I sponsor all that. You go to different events, you'll see our banner, Romo Dental, will be splattered all over the places because we do quite a bit of that. Before the pandemic, we would do stuff like Mother's Day. We would not schedule any patients. We would do free dental cleanings for moms. So it was amazing. We would have a line of moms outside, coming in for free. We didn't charge anything. We did dental cleanings on them, and we had a masseuse in the office giving a masseuse while they're waiting to get their cleaning.
Wow,
done.
that's amazing.
We've
That's
done
cool.
that. We've given away turkeys for
Thanksgiving?
For Thanksgiving, we've done that. We've done turkeys for Christmas as well. During the pandemic, I kept seeing on the news about people that weren't working and they were having a hard time getting food. So we bought $10,000 worth of fruit from a local supplier. And we literally filled up, this whole office was filled with boxes of fruit. The entire thing was filled up with fruit. And we just announced it, and people came as a drive-through and right in our parking lot, and we gave them a box of fruit for every single car that came. We did that. That was very successful. And then we also had a taco truck. We had a Totonilco who came and helped us out. They brought their taco truck. We parked it in our parking lot. We announced we're giving away free tacos, and every person in their vehicle would get 3 tacos. So we saw 3 people. We got 3 plates, and it was just driving through. I apologize to all the neighbors. We had about a mile long of vehicles waiting for their
Some
tacos.
Totonico tacos.
Oh,
you know?
yes,
Shout out to the Totonicos.
That's
Best
right.
tacos in Chicago.
Yes, best tacos, absolutely. So we did that, and we've done quite a bit. Also, as of recently, my wife and I, we did a $25,000 donation for the UIC College of Dentistry. We set up an endowment fund, so now we are giving a $1,000 scholarship for minority dental students here in Chicago.
Wow,
so,
that's amazing.
Yeah,
bro.
so we're trying our
Congratulations.
best. Yeah, we're trying our best to give back. I'm a firm believer that you gotta give back.
Just as you receive from others too, you
absolutely.
always giving back. And what inspires you? You know, I know you're a giver, and there's a lot of things you've been involved with the community. But what's that thing that wakes when you get up in the morning? What is it that inspires you?
I'm just so blessed. That's the thing. I'm just so blessed. I feel like I'm so blessed. It's not like I walk into the office and I have an easy day either. It's not like that.
Right.
I do get some hard knock lessons.
Yeah.
I'll end up, having a very difficult procedure that just beats me up. So it's not all rainbows and unicorns. It's a battle every day. To come into work and you get challenges all day. So, but at the end of the day, I go home thinking, man, I've been very, very blessed. And I think I've seen a quote where they say, a lot is expected to that person, a lot has been given to. And I think that's the way it should be. If you received a lot, you should always remember you got to give it back. That's because you only get more as you do that. That's just the way life works. I don't know how to explain it, but
well, it's a biblical principle, right? The laws of reciprocity, right? Like the laws of sowing and reaping, And I'm a believer in the Bible. I believe in God, and I'm not religious, but I'm a believer in biblical principles, and it's so true. That's why you said it. You're blessed, right? Mm-hmm. And so success comes in many forms of what people describe success, right? And I'm going to ask you that. What does that mean to you? But it comes in many shapes and forms. probably people look at success as, hey, I want to just buy a house and I want to be able to feed my 3 kids. Success might mean owning your sports car or whatever it
Yeah.
is, right? And so, to you, is what does success mean to you? Like
So, it's
analyzing your life now,
right.
right? And obviously, right, you are known. I know you are a celebrity here in the Chicagoland and abroad in the house music industry. But what do you attribute success for? Like you're 50, right? Am I? You're
Yeah, 50. Yes.
sorry. Okay, we'll cut that out.
Yeah.
Edit that.
No,
Okay,
it's okay.
middle age or
Yeah.
or whatever. Now that you have some experience in life and are raising kids, you look back in your life. What do you attribute success? What does success mean to you?
So you know what? It's funny you asked that because I saw an interview one time. Somebody wrote a book, and I don't even know, but this person who wrote the book interviewed all kinds of successful people that are just they've done very well in life, philanthropic wise, entrepreneurs, and these people had already retired. They had already sold their businesses or gave them to their families, and this person who was writing a book asked all of them, same question: How do you what how do you somebody asks you how you were successful? What do you use that to measure? How do you measure your success? What's the measuring stick? So the easy answer that most people are going to think is, well, obviously they're going to talk about how much money they made. They're going to talk about, what kind of car they drove, how big their house was. That's how a lot of people think success is. The funny thing about all of these successful people that this author discovered was none of them mentioned how much money they made, how many businesses they had, how many cars they had, what kind of car they drove, the size of the house. None of them mentioned that. The way they measured success was how they raised their kids. That's how they measured success. Because it would do you no good at all if you had the big mansion, drove the fanciest cars, and your kids are in jail.
Yeah.
And if it was directly related because of the lack of attention that you had, with your kids. I was shocked. I was shocked when I heard that. Now, as a father and a husband, my wife and I have 4 amazing kids. That's really how I measure my success, is that. So I want my kids to see that I work my butt off. I don't come here and it's easy. And I put in long hours. When I'm at home, I'm also working, but I spend a lot of time with my kids. We make sure that we travel, and we make sure that we spend a ton of time with our kids. My kids are involved with my DJing, but I bring them as much as they don't want to come in because they're hanging out with all the old people. But I want them to see the impact of what music does to people and how their old man is up there, making people happy just by DJing. I want them to see that. But then I also bring them when we do the giveaways. When we do the fruit giveaways, when we do the free tacos, I bring them so they can see that. So they can see that there's a reason, to do all this stuff. And that I'm hoping that, when I'm gone, that they realize, you know what, I want to be like my dad. That's what I want to do.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's awesome.
It's a little deep. I know.
Yeah,
I didn't expect to get that deep. But
yeah, no, that's good, man. Because you attribute success is, how you raise your family and how your kids, your kids are an extension of you,
Absolutely.
and you are an extension of your parents. And you did mention that your parents worked hard, and each member of your family found some sort of success or what we view as a good career, well educated and impacting the world through their careers.
Yeah.
And so what's next for you? Like, are you looking to, with these events you're having, is there a portion of the proceeds you donate to something, or what's your because I know you're a giver and you're always looking to expand that.
Yeah, I'm always looking for something creative to do. Like I said, we just started this endowment fund with the $25,000 donation that we did to the UIC College of Dentistry. That's a beginning. Now that the pandemic, I guess you can kind of say, has been over. Now, I'm starting to brainstorm, trying to figure out, okay, what's another philanthropic thing that I can do, to give back. And so, I don't know. Talk to me in 6 months. Let's see. Let's see what I come up with.
Yeah.
Let's see. Yeah.
Who inspires you?
My parents, 100%. Yeah, my parents.
Are they still around?
Oh, my dad's not. Unfortunately, my dad passed away 5 years ago from cancer. But my
sorry.
dad he was like the biggest, my biggest cheerleader. My mom as well. My mom's still around, obviously, and she's amazing. She's what 4'9", 4'10", but she's a little dynamite. Yeah, she's amazing, and she's always my biggest fan. From when I was in dental school, she was my patient in dental school, and when she would be in the waiting room as a patient, and I was a dental student, everybody in that waiting room knew that she had a son that was there because she told everybody, my son's coming down and he's my doctor. And so,
that's awesome.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Proud mama.
Yeah. And now, she'll come to my office and everybody knows that's my mom. I'll be at an event and I'll bring her. Sometimes she'll be there and she wears my gear. She wears my shirts, So everybody knows.
The tooth with the headphones?
Yes, the tooth with the headphones.
That's good, man.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. So they're huge. They're huge inspirations to me. Yeah.
And doing school in your career, besides this gentleman, Oscar, right?
Yeah.
Who else like you that inspired you in your career?
So, well, my DJ career, I definitely have to attribute it as well to Val Rodriguez, who taught me how to DJ. But my style of DJing comes from my favorite, one of my favorite DJs in the world. He doesn't DJ anymore, but Tony Boom Boom Badea. He was an
that guy.
old school DJ.
I haven't heard that.
Tony Boom Boom Badea. Yes. Every time I get an opportunity, I get an interview, and people ask me, who do you attribute your style or look up to? It's him. It's him. We were on the radio station at the same time on WCYC, and I never knew what he looked like, never knew who he was, but I would listen to his mixes, and I thought to myself, this guy he must have like an editing machine at home, because his style of mixing is so fast. He'll play a song and then he gets out of it very quick, but he does it very smooth, and he's just, and I thought to myself, how does he do this? He's got to be cheating. Well, I was at an event one time, and he was there, and I watched him do it. And I couldn't believe how smooth he was, his transitions. And he could pick up a record, and he knew exactly where to put the needle on the record. Grab the other record, he knew exactly where to put the needle. So he studied the record. That's what I started doing. I started studying the vinyl, studying the record, studying the music, so that I can kind of mimic him. Yeah. And he's amazing. And
that's amazing to know that people that don't understand that with the vinyl, because I used to like spin it to when you don't get it right at your part, you have to like spin it and go backwards.
And we all do that
right there.
And we all do that. But
right
Tony,
there, you hit it there, and then you like put the finger on there and then wait.
And Tony knew exactly where to put it, and that's how good he was. And it wasn't until I saw him do it, I thought to myself, I want to be like him. I want to be able to put the needle right on that spot where it's going to take me minimal amount of time to find the right spot, as opposed to going through, the whole record, to find it.
And in the dentistry field, who was that person besides that?
A lot of my colleagues, we talked a little bit about, some of the philanthropy stuff that I do, but, you come across any dentist. I don't know what it is about us dentists, but and I don't want to take credit for this. I'm not the only one that does the philanthropic stuff, but you ask any dentist, they all give back to the community. They all do free dental work. They give discounts. They sponsor Little League teams. It's not just me doing it. I don't want to take the credit, because it's not just me, but a lot of my colleagues, if not all of my colleagues, tend to do in one shape or another. And so I admire I have so many colleagues that I look up to. And it's funny because we'll sit in a room like this and I'll pick their brain, and they don't know I'm picking their brain. But that's another secret, is you need to talk to people that are successful. Talk to them, pick their brain, see how they do it, see what their work and their work life is like. See what their, you hear it all the time from professional athletes. You'll hear their teammates say, well, this guy right here, man, his work ethic is amazing. You hear that over and over again. Work ethic is amazing. So you need to find somebody that can mentor you. That's huge. Someone that can mentor you, whether they know that they're mentoring you or not. But if you pick their brain, you talk to them, you're going to pick up habits that they do that are going to help you, become a lot more successful. And that's one of my secrets that I do. So I like talking to people and asking questions. How do you do this? How do you do that? And I try to mimic that.
Any good books you read?
Yes. I one of my favorite books when it comes to just business wise is it's by Gerber is his last name. It's called The E-Myth.
Yeah.
E-Myth is a great book if you're an entrepreneur, if you got a business, you're thinking about having a business, or you've been a business owner for a very long time. There's different versions of it. Look it up on Amazon. E-Myth.
Yeah, the
E
E-Myth,
stands
yeah.
E stands for entrepreneur, and then the myth. So it's the story. The book is about the myth of being an entrepreneur, and it breaks it down of how you should run a business. And that's one of my favorites. The other one is The Millionaire Next Door. That's another excellent book because once you start making a little bit of money, no matter if you just have a part-time job, you got to read that book, Millionaire Next Door. It's an old book. I read that book about 4 or 5 times in my life, and it's an amazing book. It talks about, without giving it away, it talks about how people become millionaires. You know, how they do it. Because some people live like they're millionaires, but they live like it, but they're not really millionaires. And then you got the millionaire who is a true millionaire and does not live like a millionaire. And you know, and you and I know this. We see people and we realize
with the Gucci and
and the
Louis,
fancy car, and you're thinking, okay, that's you're hanging on by a thread. There's nothing. If you want to live your life that way, you can. But this book will help you and make you understand. It's a very easy read, so I recommend that book as well.
Okay.
Yep.
And is there, I'm sure you read a lot, right? But is there a specific book that really like blew your mind? Like, wow.
Those two.
Those two.
Yeah, those two
That's
books.
cool.
And I read those a long time ago. And I had books where I've even bought a few extra ones and I donated them to friends of mine that have other businesses. I said, look, I want you to read this book because the E-Myth, read it because it's going to help you. And I've had friends read it and then they call me like, man, you're right. This thing is amazing.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to rethink how I'm running my business because of what I've learned in this book.
Awesome.
So that's definitely a great book.
What's next for Gino Rockin Romo?
I'm going to go right now. My wife is waiting and dinner. And
Yeah.
is that what you meant? No, that's not what you meant. No, you know what? I'm just riding this wave. You know, my core thing right now is obviously running both practices.
Yeah.
I've been considering opening up a third practice. I don't know how much stress I want to add, much more stress I want to add to my life with that. So I don't know, but that's always in the back of my mind is to grow the business.
Expand the business.
Expand it. Yes, absolutely. We started with one small practice. We grew it, expanded physically, you know, then I opened this practice and this one has grown. So knock on wood, we're doing really well. So with the business, I'm always looking to expand and to grow. With the DJing, it's a roller coaster. I'm just riding this roller coaster, and you know, as long as the people out there are encouraged to come out and hear me play, and they have a good time with it, I'll just keep doing it. How long I'll keep doing it, I don't know. I don't know how long I'll keep doing it, but I'm just having a good time.
Yeah.
I'm just
and that's
fun.
great. That's really good. You're having an event, right?
Yes, in October.
And what is that called?
So I have a daytime party. Again, thank you to Mikey O. Mikey O is he's a comedian.
Thank you, Michael.
Yes, he's a great guy. He's a comedian. He's a producer of so many shows. I mean, this guy's going to have a street, a block named after him, if not already. But this guy is amazing. So I went to a daytime party that he had a couple years ago. And I thought to myself, this would be good. Maybe we can do something. And he opened the door for me. And he says, you know what? I can help you. And this is what you need to do. And we had 2 daytimes, both sold out. We're going to have a third one coming up. It's going to be on a Sunday. It's in October 22nd, 2023. And we're going to have Cynthia, George Anthony, Anthony Thomas, Elias, Anything Box, Robin S., and Crystal Waters. So we have some big acts. We're going to have Tim Spinning Schomer there, Julian Jumpin' Perez, my Dominating Six brothers, my DJs from the radio station are going to be there.
Awesome. And where's that going to be?
That's going to happen in Roseman, Illinois, just near O'Hare Airport at Joe's Live in Roseman. So.
And how do people, and because we're going to post that too, get tickets?
Yeah, go to my website. Go to GinoRockinRomo.com. Go to my website, and right there you'll get all the information. You can get paper tickets, or you can just buy them online.
Okay.
And they're selling really fast, so Yeah, make
because
sure you get
it's
those.
a limited amount, right? You
It's a
just have
limited
it,
amount. I
yeah.
think we can fit close to 1,400 people there.
Okay, I'm
And,
definitely gonna go.
yeah, you got to
And-
be there.
Yeah,
Yes.
for sure. And how do people get a hold of you? Like your Instagram handle, or
So
how
I
do
do a
they-
lot more Facebook, Instagram. It's Gino Rockin Romo. Facebook, Gino Rockin Romo. TikTok, I do a little bit of TikTok. Not a whole lot. You know,
Yeah.
all that social media, I love it, but you know, I'm a dentist. I'm a dentist, a husband, a
Yeah,
dad,
sure.
and so I don't. Some people will ask me, well, how come you don't live stream more often or do this or do that? Because I'm at the office at 8:15 in the morning. I'm here, 11 hours, and then I go home and I spend time with my wife and kids, and so I'm doing all
Awesome.
these other things. So, yeah, if you want to get a hold of me, that's social media. Just look it up.
I'm sure we're gonna get a lot of requests for this, but if people want to get a root canal, where what's the website here? Is your office?
It's RomoDentalChicago.com. Yeah, that's
Okay.
our website. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, and you'd be surprised how many fans come here and
Yeah.
come for dental treatment, which I love. I love it so much.
Bro, Gino, man, I believe like we're gonna be friends for a long time, man. I love your heart. I'm thinking as you're talking, it's like, oh my gosh, I wish I had you, because I used to do a lot of philanthropic stuff, and I used to network with doctors and overseas and stuff like that. But definitely, man, I love to partner up with you and whatever you do.
That'd be
I want to
great.
thank you, man, for being on the show. Your story's inspiring. And for those out there that listening that want to get into like the music, or maybe they want to go into a career that maybe perhaps they don't have the resources, or they grew up on the wrong side of the tracks, as they say, or they don't see any way out. You came out of it. I sure came out of that.
Absolutely.
And what can you say to them that can inspire them, but that are feel like you were, right? That the naysayers. You can't do it because you're Hispanic, or we don't have the money now, or whatever excuse it is out there. What can you say to them that they're starting out, or maybe perhaps they have to restart, right? Or maybe they got out of prison, or maybe they had some business that failed, and they just want to give up. And because you are the epitome of success, but you also wear your heart on your sleeve, and you always giving back, because the laws of reciprocity, it's just like the laws of gravity, right? What you throw up is going to come
It's
down.
gonna come back.
And
Yeah.
whatever you give is going to come back to you.
And it comes back tenfold. It really does.
Yeah.
Really-
And so what do you have to say for people like that are inspired by your story? And you're no different than anyone else, man.
No,
You
no,
know?
no different at all
And
whatsoever.
and your work ethic is impeccable, brother. I mean, I feel like I'm lazy, and I do work hard. It's like,
No.
wow.
Well, let me interrupt you for a second, because you got a story to tell. Someone has to interview you, because the little bit that I know about your background, you've done a lot of philanthropy.
Yeah.
You've done a lot of stuff. So one of these, we're gonna have to flip
Yeah,
this
for sure.
around. And I'm gonna have to interview you,
Yeah.
because, ladies and gentlemen, he's got an amazing story. I mean, this is nothing. His story is amazing. So we're gonna have to set a date in the
Yeah,
future
for
where
sure,
we're gonna
man.
flip this over.
Yeah.
And you're gonna have to allow me to take over your show.
Yeah.
And I gotta interview you, because people need to hear your story. They
Yeah.
really do.
Yeah.
But to answer your question, I think that what you have to do, and I don't have all the answers, please. And I hate being in this spot, this hot seat here, because it makes it seem that I wrote the book on this. No, I'm struggling like you guys every single day to make ends meet and to kind of reach my goals. But one of the things that's very important is that, obviously, the old cliche, don't give up and do all that. Yes, you got to work hard, but you really need to surround yourself by positive people. Literally, I really truly mean it. You have to surround yourself by positive people. Just to give you an example, if somebody sends me a text message, if there's anything negative in that text message, I don't answer them.
Yeah.
I don't answer them. It could be something as simple as, it's going to rain today. I don't answer that. I don't answer that question. If they send me a text and they say, hey, are we meeting up? And somebody says, oh, I'm not going to go there because, I don't like the food there. I don't answer that text. That's how strict I am when it comes to negativity. I just don't deal with it. I get I'll get some people that go to my events, and they'll say, hey, why is it so much money? For example, it's an example they'll say.
Sure.
I don't answer them. I don't want to hear it. somebody will text me and say, "Hey, I had a great time. I loved it. You had a killer setup there." I'll respond. I always respond. But somebody has even just a slight negative tone to it. Some of my closest friends, and if my close friends are watching this, they're going to realize I'm going to have to look at the text I sent them because I notice he hasn't responded.
No wonder he hasn't responded to this.
Look at the text. If there's a negative tone to it, I don't answer it. I really don't. That's how much I believe in. You have to surround yourself by positive people. And, when you walk into the room, I mean, me being a dentist, walking into a room, you got to smile. Something as simple as that, you got to smile. When somebody comes into the room and they're not smiling, you don't get noticed.
Right.
You walk into the room and you smile, everybody notices that.
Sure.
But you get the positivity that's oozing out of you, and people feel that. They feel that energy, and that's what you want.
Man, that's great advice, man.
Yeah.
And, so surround yourself. So, like if you're struggling or just trying to accomplish something, just surround yourself with positive people.
Yeah. And I take that to another level because I know other business people that will, that they'll open up a business no matter what it is, and they are there sweeping, they're there mopping, they're there fixing the roof, they're doing their own electrical, and I don't do that. It costs me more money, but I have the best electrician, I've got the best attorney, I've got the best insurance person, I got the best staff. You got to surround yourself by all those. When you try to do everything, it's like juggling. You're going to drop the balls eventually.
And it costs you more money.
And it costs more money, 100%. So I learned that from the E-Myth, the book I'm recommending. Yeah, that's where I learned that.
Well, guys, thank you for tuning in. Gino, Rockin, Romo, or Dr. Romo, thank you for being on the show, my brother. It's been a pleasure.
You, Rick. Thank you.
Follow this guy. We're going to post it on there. And till next time, keep it real. Rockin'